5, we will call to order the Winona County Community Health Board. Item number 2, approve the meeting minutes from October 11th, 2022.
Move approval.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Jacobs, second by Commissioner Meyer to approve the meeting minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, approved. Item 3, chairperson's report. Not a lot has happened since our last meeting. I do know that at the AMC regional meetings, there was a plea to pay attention because, you know, community health, public health in the state of Minnesota is going to be going through some changes and transitions and trying to update itself and do things more, you know, quote, equitable across the state of Minnesota. And my hope is that maybe some more money comes to the counties versus the State Department grabbing all of it and then divvying it out. But that's yet to be seen. Anybody else have any?
Oh, I just want you
Yes.
to know, I got a packet from that meeting for you and then I forgot it on my kitchen counter this morning. So I will bring it in.
And which meeting was?
The AMC district. meeting.
Oh,
I
okay.
got a spare packet for you.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
All right. Okay. Item 4, consent business. 4.1 is to approve the renewal of the grant agreement and resolution of 2023 towards zero death safe roads. And that was on page 52 of our agenda. And 4.2 is approval renewal of purchase contract and business association agreement with Driftless Region Vector Control LLC for mosquito abatement services. And that was on page 58. Any discussion on those 2 items?
I would move to approve the consent business.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Meyer, second by Commissioner Olson to approve the consent business. Any discussion? I was lucky I didn't approached by any mosquitoes today. They were all,
Good.
they're all taken care of now. Asian beetles and box elder bugs are in check too with the colder weather. All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. All right. General business. Melody is here. Do you have anything? Give us a little, we got a few minutes if you want to give us an update of what's going on in your world.
Yeah, we will be holding a COVID-19 vaccine bivalent clinic this Saturday, noon to 4 at the East End Rec. We've been receiving lots of requests for people to get boosted before the holiday season. So that's why we're hosting the clinic on Saturday.
That's great. And bring me up to speed. What's this one for? Because there's been so many variants and
Yeah.
flu season. And so is it all in one?
So the COVID-19 bivalent vaccine has been updated to provide protection for the different variants that have come out from COVID-19. So it provides further protection. And it's also the second booster and it's eligible for everybody, ages 5 and older.
Okay. And just on a personal question though, that these variants have changed so rapidly. Is this just a shot in the dark to figure out best case scenarios that it's going to cover these things? I mean, we haven't had time to test these things in any, usually drugs are tested over a long period of time with trials and everything. This is just the best guess shot in the dark?
So the bivalent vaccine, it has the strains from the variant strains that are already known. You're absolutely correct. We can't predict how the virus is going to adapt to try to thrive in the environment. So, but it is based on what we already know about the virus.
And then how, I still see recordings and everything. So when they record the COVID information, is it all these variants in one?
They each have different names. So there's like the Beta variant, the Omicron variant. Whenever a new variant is detected, they give it a new name so we can track and monitor it.
But if you do these, and I saw an alert come through about the home testing, I'm not sure who sent it out to be careful. So when you do a home testing, it just says you have something, right? It can't break down which variant you have.
Correct. Yep. The at-home tests aren't sensitive enough to determine which variant is. It just tells you if you have a high enough viral load that COVID-19 can be detected.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now variant, the kits we ordered a year ago,
Mhm.
I guess are not supposed to be, there's a shelf life on them.
Correct.
So now, is there another batch available for free to the public?
We do have over-the-counter COVID-19 tests available at Winona County Public Health as supplies last. MDH is no longer allowing local public health to order, but we do have a pretty large stock at our department.
But I think I got some notice from one of the medical thing, you can still order them online as an individual?
Correct, from your insurances, but I don't believe the federal government is ordering anymore.
Okay, all right, so I mean, people are asking and we're going into the cold and flu season and,
Absolutely.
okay, all right. Any other information anybody has or? All right, thank you.
My pleasure.
Then I guess a motion to adjourn would be appropriate.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Kavesi, second by Commissioner Jacob to adjourn. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
We start all of our meetings with a public comment period. So if there's anyone here in the audience or online that would like to share their thoughts with us, please try to limit yourself to 2 minutes and just step up to the podium, tell us your name and address and what you have to say.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Tom Anderson, Winona County Veteran Service Officer, address 571 West Howard Street in Winona. Just wanted to take a couple minutes to thank the board and the County of Winona citizens for their continued support of veterans and their interests over the last year since I've been on board and a little bit of change. As everybody, as I'm sure aware, we have Veterans Day coming up this Friday. We have several events around town that are going to be highlighting our veteran community and offering thanks to those who served. Hy-Vee is offering a breakfast for veterans between 6 to 10 in the morning. We have our Veterans Day program over at Memorial Park at 11 o'clock, which runs every year and is always well attended. And we have a dinner for veterans at the Elks Lodge from 5 to 6:30 in the evening. As always, all veterans and their families are more than welcome and encouraged to attend all of these events. Also, as some of you may have heard, there's an operation going on right now called Operation Greenlight. They've been sending out green flashlights, and we got the bulbs a little bit late and tried to coordinate a way to get these to show at all county buildings. Unfortunately, that's just not logistically possible this year, but it's on my list of things to do for next year. So hopefully we can become an official green light county and show our support for the community in that way. And just as a little bit of success stories over the last year, our office has been extremely busy helping a lot of veterans, with a variety of things in all aspects of their life, whether it's disability claims, helping with special needs grants, getting folks access to health care, and as well as benefits for surviving veterans. Just looked up the stat, and nearly 40% of our local veterans are connected to VA healthcare. And I believe that number is increasing because those numbers are from fiscal year 21. So we're going to keep trying to turn that north. And we've also been very busy with the recent passage of the PACT Act, which includes additional stipulations for disabilities for folks that served in both the Persian Gulf era, Vietnam, as well as veterans from Camp Lejeune, as I'm sure many of you've seen commercials for. So we're keeping ourselves very busy to make sure that our local veterans are taken care of and that any benefits that are due to them are being earned. Does anybody have any questions about the Veteran Service Office or anything that we've got going on?
Just thank you very much for all you're doing. for them.
And likewise, thank you to the board and thank you to the County of Winona. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to participate in our public comment period?
Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you. My name is Tim Ahrens. I'm at 12969 County Road 31 in Altura. My family and I are here again with concerns about the makeup of the Road and Bridge Committee. We should recognize the county engineer and two of his subordinates as the majority of the Road and Bridge Committee is inappropriate. Also, I think there's a number of ways, as I've outlined each of you in an email, that I think transparency could be improved for the Road and Bridge Committee. An item comes from the Road and Bridge Committee on your agenda today, and I just want you to be aware of these concerns as you review that. So thank you, and today seems like an appropriate day to thank you especially for your service to us. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to participate in the public comment period? And if you're online, if you could unmute yourself and get our attention, you are also welcome to participate. I'll ask 2 more times. Is there anyone else here in the audience or online that would like to participate in the public comment period before the county board today? And for the 3rd and final time, is there anyone else in the audience or participating on Ring Central that would like to participate during the public comment period? Hearing none, public comments closed. Next item on our agenda is approval of the October 11th county board minutes.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Ward has moved and Commissioner Jacob has seconded approval of the county board minutes from October 11th of 2022. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. The 5th item on our agenda is acknowledging receipt of some committee minutes.
I'll move to acknowledge 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3. Second.
Commissioner Jacob has moved and Commissioner Olson has seconded. Acknowledging receipt of approved committee minutes, Road and Bridge from August 16th of 2022, the Planning Commission from September 15th of 2022, and the Whitewater Joint Powers Board from August 18th of 2022. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those who approve the committee minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Minutes are approved. Next item is consent comments and approval of the agenda. Commissioner Ward?
I would like a future board action, please.
Commissioner Kavesi?
Yeah, I have some announcements at the end, but I also have a question about 7.1, just a quick question.
Shall we pull it?
Yes, well, I would like to ask the question, whatever, yeah.
All right, so I'm going to pull it and make it be 8.00. Commissioner Olson,
Nothing for me.
Commissioner Jacob,
But nothing from me.
Assistant County Attorney and Interim Administrator Holte, do either of you have items for the agenda?
Nothing from the county attorney's office.
Nothing, ma'am.
I have nothing. So our agenda is modified for some announcements, a request for board action, and we would be moving item 7.1 into general business as 8.0.
I'll move
With
to the
approval
agenda.
of the agenda as amended.
Will you second?
Second, sure.
Commissioner Kavesi has moved and Commissioner Jacob has seconded the approval of the agenda as modified. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the agenda is set.
Okay, item 8.0.
Nope, we have to approve the consent agenda. Oh, could you please read the consent agenda?
7.2, approve conditional use permit for Courtney and Mitchell Campbell and Thomas and Janet Campbell. 7.3, adopt updated cattle pass policy. 7.4, approve advertisement for 2023 official newspaper. 7.5, approve renewal of grant agreement and resolution for 2023 towards zero death safe roads. 7.6, approve renewal of purchase contract and business associate agreement with Driftless Region Vector Control LLC for mosquito abatement services. 7.7, approve renewal of State of Minnesota Joint Powers Agreement with Career Force to provide Minnesota Family Investment Program Diversionary Work Program Employment and Training Services. 7.8, approve Section 125 plan. 7.9, approve 2023 Minnesota Pollution Control Agency Septic System Program Grant Agreement. 7.10, authorize disposal of excess furniture and equipment. and 7.11, confirm payment of disbursements.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I have a point of personal? I have a question also on item 7.3 from the consent agenda. So I would ask that that be pulled. I don't
We
know how we
have a-
handle that.
yes.
We've approved
Yeah, we have approved the agenda.
we haven't approved the consent agenda.
No, we have not. Yeah, we have approved the agenda. We just haven't approved the consent business.
Well, we can go ahead and I'll just ask the question, but I mean, I don't know.
I would like to discuss that too, but I didn't pull it.
So I think it's possible to reconsider a motion.
Backtrack.
Okay, so
Sorry, I
would
really
you like to make,
apologize.
and that is a motion in itself, right? Okay, so do
Yeah, I would like to make the motion to reconsider our motion which approved the agenda.
Second,
So the motion to approve the consent business was not yet on the floor. But Commissioner Kavesi has moved and Commissioner Olson has seconded, reconsidering the approval of the agenda. Is there a discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so we're going to reconsider the agenda. And could you make your request again?
All right, I would like to pull item 7.3 for discussion.
Okay, so that would make that item 8.01.
Yeah.
All right. So I think what would be in order next is approval of the,
Amended agenda. I move approval of the amended agenda.
second,
Commissioner Kavesi has moved and Commissioner Olson has seconded approval of the agenda with the further revision that item 7.3 is pulled and is under general business, item 8.01. Is there further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Since we had already read the consent into the record, could you read for us a slight modification?
The modification is to move 7.3 to general business 8.01.
So I think where we're at now would be
I'll move
approved.
to approve the amended consent business as read.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Jacob has moved and Commissioner Ward has seconded approval of the consent business. Is there discussion? Commissioner Olson?
just for clarification, was 801 and 802. Because we had 7.1 and 7.3 that were pulled.
Yes, but okay, yes, so that's 800 and 801
Okay,
is what I call them. Is that okay?
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, consent business is passed. We will now be on item 8.0, which is approved conditional use permit for Dean, Greg, and Randy Smith, D&D Dairy.
Yeah, my question was that early in the paperwork trail, I saw that I think we were waiting on an EAW discussion from the MPCA, and I wasn't able to follow that through, and I'm not sure. Did we get that notice from the MPCA?
Good morning. Yes, the
Oh, Carly,
MPC,
could please just say your
I'm Carly McGinty, the feedlot officer
Thank
for
you.
Winona County. Yes, we got a ruling from the MPCA that exempted them from an EAW.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Then I move approval of item 8.0, the previous 7.1.
Second,
Okay, Commissioner Kavesi has moved and Commissioner Olson has seconded approval of what is now 8.0, approval condition use permit for Dean, Greg, and Randy Smith, D&D Dairy. Is there further discussion? Hearing Commissioner Ward.
I just want to thank them for continuing to do dairy in Winona County. I know sometimes we don't make it easy, but I appreciate the business in Winona County. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Okay, item
8.0.
8.01 is the policy from the Road and Bridge Committee. I just need a little more background on this. I see that, I mean, it's been a long time that the Road and Bridge Committee has not had public members. Are public members not allowed on the Road and Bridge Committee or, so I had some questions about how this came to be. If there
So
was
the-
public input.
So the questions are related not to the policy, but to the
Not to
makeup
the
of the committee?
policy, no,
Okay.
but to the committee.
So the Road and Bridge Committee has been in its current form since prior to my employment with the
Right.
county, which was started in 2006. So it's, 16 plus years. The committee has been 2 commissioners appointed by the board to the committee. Typically, it's been the 2 rural commissioners, and then the county administrator, the county highway engineer, the maintenance superintendent, and the assistant county engineer. So it's a committee that's doesn't set policy or have any formal authority. It's a committee that's used to essentially vet issues and talk through details and bring a fully baked plan to the county board for the full board's consideration without spending a bunch of the time of the board on details that really should be addressed prior to things coming to you. So that's kind of the, I guess, the function and purpose that the committee has been.
Is that in our policies, the makeup of that committee? Is it spelled out that way?
Commissioners, there isn't a policy on specifically stating how each committee is established.
Some of the committees have.
If they have bylaws. Does it
Ah.
have bylaws?
I'm not aware
I
of
don't-
any bylaws. There is I think annually the board appoints
Mhm.
people to the committee, but that would identify probably the commissioners on
Yeah,
the committees.
Correct.
Right, I don't remember ever identifying,
Commissioner Ward and
having
then Commissioner
applications for public members for Road and Bridge.
There's, in my time with the county, there's not been any public members. And I've not seen anything in minutes of previous meetings that would suggest that there's ever been public members of that committee.
Mr. Ward?
As Dave Kramer indicated, it's just always been that way. Now, should we look at it? I always am an advocate for looking at things, but it's not a committee that has authorization for spending, monetary things. It's an advisory committee to the full county board. And we allow public participation. We've had people come in when there's an issue that is immediate to them. We've always allowed public participation and everything, but it's just an advisory board to the full county board. So it's just always been that way as far as I know.
I would offer there have been occasions when like another commissioner who's not on the committee wanted to attend. And in
Right.
that case, we would then publish that as a special meeting, since at that point there would be a quorum of the board in attendance. Obviously not formal board actions taken place, but under the open meeting law, if there's a quorum present, it has to be posted as a special meeting essentially.
Right.
And as an advisory committee,
Commissioner Jacob
Oh,
has asked for the
excuse me.
floor.
Okay.
You may have it after Commissioner
Okay.
Jacob is done.
excuse me.
I think my question is for the county attorney. What's on our agenda is a cattle pass policy. The discussion we're having is a policy of the Winona County Board, which seems to me like it could be a future agenda item and we could have the discussion. I feel like this is circumventing the intent of what an agenda is for. So the public knows what's going to be on the agenda. If they have concerns with it, they can come to the podium, speak to it. I think, I chair the Road and Bridge Committee, and as long as we're discussing it, I've certainly always welcomed public participation. There's been discussions that we should have to do it every 2 months, and the public is, or one person in the public is asserting that. I don't favor just making busy work for staff. If we can efficiently get everything done and we don't need to have a meeting, that's saving taxpayers dollars. We should meet that. We're conducting internal business. We're allowing the public to be part of it. But I think that the committee has functioned just fine, and I don't see a need to address anything.
Yeah, I just had questions how the committee generated the policy that we're dealing on. So that's why I raised issues on how that policy was generated, what kind of input. Do the meetings follow notification, and who keeps the minutes? All those kind of procedural things are just, they are related to the policy because that's how the policy was generated.
And for information, this policy came to light with our project on County Road 1, which is, I think there's 8, correct me if it was 8 or 9 cattle active, or
think
not active,
Not-
but
Right.
yeah, just existing.
Two, I believe, are active.
2 are active, and I think there was multiple cattle
Okay.
passes that are no longer
Right.
active.
Right.
And the discussion was stemmed from that project because a cattle pass alone will cost $80,000 to $100,000. So it was a matter of budgetary concern if we replace them or we change our policy. And the neighborhood has changed significantly as to when those cattle passes were installed. It's much more residential area now than active. And as it indicated here, the policy is for if the landowner owns land on both sides of the road and maintains and it has value, it should probably be maintained. But if it's changed ownership on both sides of the road, there's probably no need for taxpayer dollars to put in a cattle pass at this time again. Now, as we talked earlier in the meeting, when things turn around and it goes back to 100% agriculture, we'll probably put them back in if we have cattle and sheep and goats and buffalo and whatever roaming our lands.
I'm going to allow the highway engineer to speak, and then Commissioner Olson.
As far as a direct answer to a couple of Commissioner Kavesi's questions, as far as, where this came from, it was basically a staff initiative to the Road and Bridge Committee where the policy was reviewed and vetted. As far as the public notification for that, our agendas and minutes get posted to the website, to county website, but there's no formal notification process that this was going to be on the Road and Bridge agenda. The formal process all takes place at the county board level, where it goes on your agenda with everything else. And this is a public meeting where the policy is acted on and considered.
Commissioner Olson?
I guess Commissioner Ward can answer some of the questions regarding how many we have, but the concerns raised by the family here in attendance, apparently one of them is theirs, and we want to promote agriculture, and if we're gonna just continue allowing these, if the ownership changes, I guess we don't want the cows going from their pasture to somebody else's front yard. So.
The gentleman that spoke at the open comment is a resident of County Road 31, which we are working on a upcoming future project to regrade the hill road on the east edge of County Road 30 that will extend into that family's farmland. But that's a completely separate issue from the County Road 1 project
Okay,
that Commissioner Ward mentioned. And that's not planned, that's not going to take place next year.
And there's no cattle passes, all right?
I'm not certain of that. I believe there may be. I'm not certain of that.
Can we get the deer to use them?
Actually, that is done
Might
in
save a
some
lot of money.
locations
In
to,
Canada, they have overpasses.
they do it some places in the States too. You'd need big, tall fencing that the deer won't jump over and basically force them to use that, they will use it in those cases. If you want to invest in a whole lot of fencing, and the aesthetics of
Better than
that.
a new front end, maybe.
Yeah. Commissioner Jacob.
So the timeliness of this stems from that. There are 5 proposed cattle passes coming up in the next construction cycle. Dave had A, B, and C, which would have addressed all 5. Commissioner Ward and myself decided that A was not appropriate because it didn't dovetail or parallel with the state statute. But B and C that we're adopting today will solve 4 of these cattle passes. And the reason that we're supporting, Commissioner Ward and myself both support agriculture and support agricultural infrastructure. But if the person doesn't own, if the land has been split up and they don't own property on both sides of the road, it not only takes the $80,000 per cattle pass to put them in, then it's ongoing maintenance into the future. They wear out, they need to be replaced. So essentially this vote today will save the taxpayer $320,000.
320,000 to perhaps $500,000.
Yeah.
That would
Jacob,
be,
by solve, you mean remove. You said it would solve the cattle passes, which you mean is remove the cattle passes.
It would solve 4 of the 5 cattle passes.
By solving, you mean remove.
Yes.
Okay.
in some cases, it's in an area where we will need to replace it with a conventional culvert. But then that would be maintained, in long-term as a culvert rather than a cattle pass
At a fraction of the
at a
price.
fraction of the cost.
Mr.
Yes.
Kavesi?
Yeah, thank you for this background. I do have one comment on the policy itself. Under the last paragraph on removal of cattle passes, this is on page 48 in the packet. It says, remove at county cost with permission of the landowner. Is that written permission, or do we need to specify that it's written permission?
It's not, obviously, it's not specified currently in the policy. I believe we do, I'm not 100% staff does all the details of these. Obviously, I do believe they get written permission, but I'm not 100% sure of that. That would certainly be a best practice, and I actually got some review comments from Paul Ellison of the County Attorney's Office that suggested that that should be in written format. And I suspect we're doing that, but I don't know that for certain. I can find that out.
Yeah, Dave Kramer provided me just this morning because we did have questions of the legality of doing this. And there are Minnesota statutes, and it's like 160.25. It refers to tunnels under highways, which cattle passes are there. And you're absolutely correct by his note here. Such permission should be in written and signed document. Removing a cattle pass if both sides of the road are no longer under common ownership is consistent with statute 160.25, providing tunnels only when an owner or leasee has land on both sides of the highway. So I would ask that the attorney's office probably clarify that we want it in writing and documented.
My question is, if you're going to remove it, this language says or, right? If both sides, will you inform them always?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. I would want to make sure, even if it was the condition B, that they knew it was happening.
I'll move to approve the cattle pass policy as amended with the addition of written permission of the landowner.
I'll second that.
Okay, Commissioner Jacob has moved and Commissioner Ward has seconded approval of this policy with the amendment that I think what we're saying is that A, which the county may remove a cattle pass at county cost A with written permission of the landowner. Is everyone in agreement that was the modification?
Written and it says written and documented.
Written and documented.
Yeah, should be in a written and signed document. is the advice.
Commissioner Jacob, are you?
Yeah, paper.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We move on to item 8.1, which is to receive the monthly finance and budget update for September. Mr. Moga.
Good morning. I'll be going over the September numbers. September beginning cash started at 13.5 million. Actual revenues were $404,000. Actual expenses were 1.6 million. Ending cash in the general fund was 12.2 million. For the whole year, started out at 14.8 million. Actual revenues were 12.7 million. Actual expenses were 15.3 million. Ending cash is 12.2 million. The variance in the general fund is a negative 2.5 compared to last year's negative 1.9. The total variances with all the funds that are being presented is a negative 2.8 compared to a negative 3.1. Any questions on this document? If not, we can go to the summary document. Beginning cash is 19 million. Actual revenues were 29 million. Actual expenses were 31.9 million. Ending cash is 16.2 million. Variances are the negative 2.8 million compared to a negative 3.1 million. Any questions on that document? We'll go to the summary budget. And I did want to point out on this one, I forgot to change the percentage of the year. It says 67%. It should be 75%. And looking at all the funds presented, they're all under that dollar amount. So there's nothing at this point that needs to be addressed. And then the other thing is, I always point out about our interest. We're thinking for the year that we'll have $180,000. Interest is at 99 right now.
But rates are going up.
Rates are going up. We'll see the interest go up in the future years as we're investing.
Yep.
Any questions on this document? Thank you.
Thank you.
Question, right, comment. Rural landowners, remember your property taxes are due at the middle of the month, so, you know. you gotta
Hey,
keep
everyone else
cash
as
flow.
well.
No, you were October. Farmers get to the November.
Is that right?
October,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
paid.
City is October.
I already paid.
We still have an agricultural basis for paying taxes. The crops are in.
Item 8.2, discuss remaining candidates and provide direction for next steps in county administrator recruitment process. So I think that Mr. Pat Melvin is online to guide us.
Good morning, commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Any-
good morning.
Great. So just to give you a brief recap of where we've been, we met on October 13th. We had a total of 5 candidates that we interviewed at that time. It was unanimous from the board to go ahead and offer the position to Candace Pesch. That decision was made based on input from a community panel as well as staff. Candace Pesch was at the time the Director of Personnel and HR at Freeborn County. At that meeting, you put together a negotiations committee that consisted of Commissioner Ward, Commissioner Kvetchy, Interim Administrator Holte, and I to proceed with having negotiations with Candace Pesch. We had some discussion back and forth, and then we're somewhat surprised that Candace wanted some time to consider her options, and she was a finalist for the Freeborn County Administrator position. She did accept that position, and so that's where I am bringing this issue back to you for your consideration. I have inquired with the remaining 4 candidates, and we do have one of those, Eric Reinfleisch, who has accepted another job. However, the remaining three, including Brian Anderson, Rick Niemeyer, and Cassandra Hannon, are all still interested and available if the board would like to consider those candidates. So what I'm really looking for here this morning is just some direction. Obviously a big question is, are you willing and do you want to consider one of those three remaining candidates? If so, we can certainly have a meeting and have further discussion on that. If not, the next option is to decide what is the next move for the Winona County Administrator position. And I think you have gotten some input from others on possible options. So I would open it up for your discussion, and I will certainly take notes and do whatever I can to help you in the process.
Commissioner Olson?
Throughout the process, certain applicants kind of, triggered different things in each of us that we found worthy of bringing them in for an interview and maybe considering during the interview. Some didn't interview as well as some of us anticipated. I would like to bring one candidate in particular back for another interview if the rest of the board would be so interested. That would be Brian.
I would support that. I support Brian as well.
Ryan was
From
from
Goodhue.
Goodhue,
Yeah.
Goodhue County.
Excuse me.
Commissioner Ward, I'm sorry, Commissioner Kavesi.
Yeah, we got back our notes, which I appreciate. But what we don't have is the panels, the citizen panel and the department head panel. And I would like to know what their consideration is if somebody has those notes on the panels.
Yes, I can certainly provide you with that information. I'm sorry that I didn't provide it in advance, but yes, I certainly can.
Commissioner Olson?
We base a lot of our decision making on how the person performed that day in the interview. And, in checking previous notes and then through my own work that I did, Brian was somebody that, may not have interviewed to some people's liking, but I thought that he looked like a viable candidate. So I would like to review the citizen panel and the department head panel. And just ask that, perhaps he's reconsidered for at the very least another interview.
Is that a motion?
No, I'd just like to keep discussing it until we go home.
Well, yeah, I wonder about just as a future. Well, we could probably make that decision today. It's on our agenda. I'm very comfortable supporting Brian. I don't know if the rest of the board is there yet or whether it needs to come back to a future meeting for further review. I mean, we did go through the process once already.
And again, getting the notes from the other committees that interviewed would be valuable. A second interview, yeah, because sometimes that one half hour is not your best half hour in your professional life. I would be open to a second interview. It's, life is all about timing. We have an election today. This board will not look the same in January. I guess, we have to make decisions. So we make decisions for a future board, who the leadership will be. I guess that's in our purview. But I definitely would like to see the the citizen committee notes and the department head notes, and then consider for a second interview, I think. And maybe of course, a different set of questions, maybe more pointed to skill ability in managing a very large budget and things like that. I think would be valuable information.
Mr. Olson?
Yeah, and one thing that just kind of stuck out to me was, I know Commissioner Jacob, said that we would like to have somebody ease into the position, or, they didn't need to hit the ground running. I kind of felt like he could hit the ground running. So I would, I would think that the administrator that we hire would be able to hit the ground running.
Yeah, I'm looking back at my notes on his interview and his whole package that we have. And he was actually very low in my ranking. And my reasons were strong in finance, obviously, but these other areas in terms of supervision and bringing people together and those kind of important considerations for an administrator seem to me rather weak. I'm not sure, that another interview, well, I'm just not sure that another interview would be helpful. And it did seem to me that I recall that he was rather low ranking by both the department heads and the citizen panel, but I can't say that for sure since I don't have that in front of me. I was just disappointed in his, in his whole interview, frankly.
I will call you next when Commissioner Kavesi's finished here.
No, I'm finished.
Okay.
Sorry,
Commissioner
it's
Jacob.
kind of rambling. but-
Those rankings, we were ranking them against each other. And the proof is in the pudding. 2 of them have already been scooped up. So they probably were very qualified candidates. I think all 5 of them were qualified. And was Brian Anderson the best of the 5? Maybe not, but I think he's very qualified for the position. So, yeah, I support bringing him back. I also feel like we should, I'd say more strike while the iron's hot, not belabor this. I understand there's a new board that will be seated, but this is a process that's been ongoing. So I think we should be continuing with the process. Mr. Melvin has gone through this twice. He's brought us these candidates. Unless we can, point blank find a reason why this candidate would be, would not fit Winona County. I feel like that's what the process brought us, and that's the direction we should go.
Perhaps just food for thought would be, we're gonna know after today, at least, another county commissioner will be sitting here. And, another one perhaps will be leaving. But we could have the candidate-elect participate too in the interview process, just to.
Not allowed.
Well, it's not a public meeting. The interview is not a public meeting, so. Oh, I'm sorry. I said that wrong. Yes.
They could
With
sit
the
in, they would not,
commissioners-
they
with
could
the
not.
Commissioners, yes.
Yeah.
The panels are not. My apologies. I said that.
Yeah,
wrong.
okay.
Internal
You're
panels.
right.
So would we also have the department heads?
I was thinking it would be just the makeup of the board. But we would need to look at the notes. from-
So do we want to look at the notes and make a decision at our next county board meeting on a timeline? If a second interview is to be scheduled? You want to look at the notes first Or do we want to schedule a second interview?
My preference would be to look at the notes first.
That would be my preference also, but
I can have the notes out to you, this afternoon.
Commissioner
Pat,
Olson?
what I found, the initial, where we selected the finalists, that videotaped interview and question and answer, I've found that to be helpful. So if you could just resend that again,
Okay.
I'm sure I could find it, but.
Yep, I will do similar to last time where I'll send you the links and then you should have access to the video interview, all the information that you previously have reviewed and looked at should be available through that. So I will send that as well as the summaries from the two panels. I'll send those out and get those to you this afternoon.
Now, with that question for Ms. Holte, would that be public record? As far as the videoed interview before we got that, some of that information was not public?
My understanding is the recorded interview is not public. You'd need to go through Mr. Melvin on that. That is not something that we participated in.
What is public, Commissioner Olson, is the resumes and the cover letter, and that information was provided to both the staff as well as the community panel. The remaining information is confidential and just for you as the decision makers.
So would a commissioner elect be able to look at that? No? Okay.
since I'm the one being not on the ballot today, if we have the commissioner-elect from District 2 participate, does that mean I am not participating or?
No, we just said they can't
I don't
because they
believe
aren't
They
sworn
can
in.
view. I think they could sit in and watch it like the public can, but
They can't sit in on the interview?
they can
Oh,
sit in, but they can't ask the question.
Oh, okay, so they can't have input unless I would go to them.
Something like, well, yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah, I definitely see the dynamics of we only have 3 more meetings this year before this is going to be, this board will not be the same. So I totally understand the sentiment of let's let that board decide. But the fact of the matter is we're in a process and we are the people sitting here right now to make this decision. And I don't think it would be in our best interest to delay this until the new board is sitting there. We've saw 2 of the candidates already scooped up. There's a good chance more of the candidates will, they'll moved on, found a different direction. We know that we've got 3 sitting there right now who are still interested in the job. The process is still open. I think it's our duty and responsibility to keep moving this forward. So
is there a reason we're not re-interviewing the other 2 candidates or?
I'm in agreement with Greg. That's where we got to Brad Anderson or Brian Anderson. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Brad's the commissioner.
Right.
He doesn't want the job. It's, a re-interview. I would like to point out that we have an interim that's been more than competent in keeping us informed, managing, juggling all the aspects of county administration plus HR.
Mr. Ward? No, Jake, Olson.
I think the fact that we have Marine sitting here has allowed us the benefit of this deliberation of going through this because we're in good hands in the meantime. Cool.
In the eyes of effective and efficient services, government moves slow. So I would propose that we get the materials from the previous interviews. We review those. We set a placeholder on our agenda for the is it the 22nd meeting to discuss and determine a timeline if second interviews are warranted. And we make a decision moving forward on the 22nd.
That's a motion.
That's a motion.
I'll second that.
Mr. Ward has moved and Commissioner Olson has seconded that the board receive the additional paperwork that shows the other notes from the citizen panel and the department head panel, and that we, you did not say the word table, but I'm going to say table this until the next board meeting of October 22nd.
Yeah, a
when we would-
placeholder. Yeah.
would revisit it. And just, I am torn. On the one hand, I do feel like we maybe should just wait until next year. But it sounds like the majority of the board is interested in at least taking the steps that Commissioner Olson has suggested. So I'll go along with it for now. Any further discussion?
Just wanted to let you know that I will reach out to the three candidates and let them know that they're still being considered based on pending approval of this motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Melvin. Okay, Commissioner Ward, you had a future request for board action.
Yes, future board action. And I did ask in an email and I did not, to my knowledge, receive any answers to this point. So I do need to bring it for a future board action. A discussion on the most recent lawsuit, update and facts and information regarding that. I've been asked by numerous constituents what's going on. And I personally don't know what's going on either. So I would like that to be a future board agenda item action.
Yeah, I would second that.
Commissioner Kvesi, you had some announcements?
Yeah, I have two announcements. The model legislature is meeting on the 17th and the 18th of November, and that will be at the Education Village. Previous years, there have been as many as 130 students, both high school and quite broad regional representation, as well as university involvement. So it's worth a look if you're available either of those days. They set up mock committees and they discuss bills, and in the past, at least one of their bills has made it to the state legislature for discussion. So it's a good program for our youth and our college students. I have a housing announcement. We have scattered sites that are all filled in Water's Edge. So there are 9 sites that are filled with support services. So that's a real accomplishment. And, you know, there's 9 people that are now stably housed as soon as the apartments open up, including a family that's taking a 3-bedroom unit, another family in a 2-bedroom unit, and 3 1-bedroom units. So it's really meeting a need. That's for the 5 of the sites. I'm not sure about the other 4. And if I may, I would like to propose a future board agenda for discussion on the possible need for public membership in the Road and Bridge Committee. If there's a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, anything further? I think that concludes our business for the day.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Jacob has moved and Olson has seconded adjournment of this meeting. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none.
Comment, remember to vote.
Yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Again?
Again.
Aye.
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 Vote
Okay.
vote again.